All right, in that trailer magic, next is, I believe the lady said this was a 55L Joa, and it's a little 13 footer. So I just put on a new electric tongue jack for her, preference of what she wanted. I have her battery charging. The main thing is we did some frame work, and now this door. This door is a tough opener, you know, not the best of shape. Screen door, she likes to patina on certain things. So what I'm gonna have to do is we're gonna take this door off, remake a new door, put on new jambs. We're gonna keep the screen door as it is. Like I said, she likes to patina how it is. This piece, unfortunately, in here, I do have to replace because it's not in good shape. We'll work on fixing that door handle so it works better. And we'll put some new gaskets around the window because these are a little old and crusty. So we'll get this door working as good as we can, maybe a little framework, but we'll do some updates as we're progressing. All right, so we were talking about this door. So we're gonna take this whole assembly off and the jamb. So here we go. We're gonna take the screen door off first. So on your vintage trailers, if you think that you want a screen door in your trailer, this is the issue. If you don't have one already, these hinges come with this piece into them, which is for the screen door. So if you don't have this type of hinge, you really can't add a screen door to your trailer. It's pretty difficult. I don't know where, sometimes you can find these on some of the Facebook groups for sale, but that would be about it. So let's continue. We're gonna take off the door jamb off of the jamb, not the door, but we'll take this off, but not yet. We're gonna do this piece first. And besides, there is a little bit of rod issue and the door not working right. You can tell, you know, someone's been in here. Some of these screws are crooked. Stripped, you have this kind of screw, you have drywall screws. So a lot of times, you know, you do what you have to make your door work. And if you do have a second person that can help you hold, that's fine. I did a lot of the bottom ones. I'm holding it, it's resting on the jamb, so when I take this piece off, you don't drop the whole door. All right, that is the door taken off the jamb. We are actually going to replace these pieces of skin. I have new ones made. I will take this off the pedestal in a minute and show you the other side before I continue on. But then looking through, you know, this is the hinge itself, so I do need this door to make a template off of, but I'm just going to take off these screws. We don't need to watch that. Let me just show you this real quick, what's going on as to why we're going to do some of these repairs. So if you look at this door jamb here, not a big deal, you know, some screws, you know, and this siding has been kind of beat up. But if you look at here, you see all of the holes and the screws. These would be some of the originals, the twist nails, like this here. But then there's, you know, screws added everywhere because I'm gonna assume behind here is a little bit of rot that we might have to address. Same with, you know, this is just a household strike piece, and this isn't gonna, the way this moves, that's not really gonna ever hold your door in tight. And this side, the receiving side, looks pretty clean, but we'll replace it all to make it look the same. And like I said, this is the rest of the door that we'll take off. So I'm going to take off this and then we'll be back. So I just wanted to see if I could show you this real quick. So this here is mostly going to be the originals because they're a flathead screwdriver tip. But as I'm going across these, if I can keep the camera in the right view, you'll see almost all of them spin. That one's gonna grab, but you can see most of those just spin in there, which it wouldn't be a surprise looking at this door that there would be rot on that door, but I just wanted to show you that real quick. I'll be right back. All right, so we do have the hinges now off the door. I'll do a video, you guys can watch me take this off, but what I'm looking for on this, because there's not many screws, is you'll see every so often there's staples here. That's what's holding this onto the frame, so I'm gonna get things set up. The top has, oops, sorry. Okay, tape just holding that screw in from falling, but you can see they're nothing really hold well. There's how you take the top piece off, as long as I have it there, I guess. So there's nothing holding that on except for this blue tape the person put on. So give me a second to get this set up and we'll get these removed. All right, so we'll get to getting this all off right here. Grab my drill real quick. I know these aren't holding, but yeah, there's nothing to take off there. So there's the top piece. Get this piece off, and simple small hammer, and I still like my brake tool for multi-purpose everything on these trailers. For if you have screws when you're screwing and they're spinning, you can put this behind the screw head and give it a little wedge and it helps get the screws out. But let's get this piece here off. Since I'm replacing this, I don't have to be quite as careful, but I'm gonna look for the staples and just pop them out like that. So they're gone, it'll just make this come off easier. So this will just take a couple minutes to get off. And if you are saving your jam sides, if you're taking them off this far, I am, because I need to check the rot back here because this door was pretty out of square. I need to make sure there's enough structure back in here before I do the work. Like I can tell right now, we'll show this later on an update video so I can get you more viewing up there specifically, but doing the same tool, just being more cautious. Like you can still get into these staples and not really, you know, damage the aluminum too badly. Let me grab another tool. Another thing that's helpful is when you're taking these off and you get these staples that are pulled out and you kind of want to get them off all the way, is just a simple nail puller. You know, easy to do, pulls off the parts. So this is coming off pretty good. Not down here, so that just means I missed a staple, which I did. All right, side jam piece off. And again, we'll do some updates on what's underneath here to show you guys that. Let's go to this side over here. Start taking off all the screws. All right, I'm gonna grab another tool real quick. So on this one, I was able to get all the screws out, well, minus the ones that are spinning, but those aren't gonna be a problem when I'm pulling that off. But I just wanna show you how these are called Vamp pliers, like vampire and pliers, Vamp pliers. And what's cool with these is you should have these even in your toolbox all the time, is it has the cutter on this side, and then it has the crimp teeth on the edge, And then if you look in the tip, it's got a space. So what happens is if you have a screw head that broke off, well, I don't have one right there. What you can do is this pliers, because it's circular up there, will be able to grab a screw like this and you can twist that screw out. Same with your twist nails. If the head breaks, and actually twist nails, these are great for, because if you can get the head to pop out a little bit and you grab it with this, you can twist as you pull, which makes the nail come out easier. But they have multi-purpose. You can tell by the grime on here, I use this pliers a lot. So what we have next is the twist nails. So we'll see how they come off. So that one, so if you don't know, that's a twist nail. It's a nail that looks like it's got a twist on it. That's what holds in a lot of your aluminum trim on the inside of your windows, and you know, parts like this. So, and you can see, well, you can't see it, but there's some broken headed ones in there too. And again, I'm using this brake tool to get underneath there. So this particular one is actually seated pretty well, and I was able to get it out just a little bit. So the van pliers, what you would do is grab that head, squeeze down on it, and when you twist, the twist nail comes out. So just show you an example of why tools are important. So when I use this and I wedge them out, if they don't come out, that's what the van pliers is for. So this one also was holding pretty well. So I'm just going to use it to twist this nail out. On the other ones right now where the head has broken off, for taking this jamb off, it shouldn't be a concern, because if the head broke, you're going to be able to pull this right over it anyway. Let's see if I can. Well, just a second. I got 2 loose screws down here, but they're jamming it up. All right, so now let's see if we can pull this off. So the sticky spots on here right now are where the twist head, or yeah, the twist head screws are still poking through because they're twisted. They're catching the aluminum a little bit and making it a little difficult, more than it needs to be, to pop it. There we go. And what's nice with this tool as well is when you have these parts and you're reaching down inside there, is this tool has the wedge for you, so you can pop them off. Okay, so that's actually a long nail. And I didn't grab a hammer with the claw, so again, I'll just use my van pliers. If you can see, we'll grab that nail. So there's a good example of how it grabs, and you can pull things out with it. All right. Next side off. So I'm going to give you a close-up of what's going on with this trailer frame, which this is going to be what a lot of you guys are going to come across if you decide to work on your door. I'll take off the bottom, Jamb. You won't need to see that. So this was the hinge side. You know, it's actually pretty decent. It's got a little bit of rot right there. And you can see, but now here's where the problem comes in is this is the top. I don't know if you can really see, but my tool is just going right into that lumber and it's flaking off. And then here, it seems like it's pretty solid, but as you come down to like the door jamb area, there's really nothing left. You can see all the nails that were put in there to try to hold this thing together. They're just popping out. This is one that this nail would have held this outside frame to this inside frame. And you can see all the rotted. This here, so what you'll have, this is part of the interior door jamb. So what you would have is, this is your finished plywood. When you look inside your trailer and you see, this one's dark inside, and you see this finished wood, this is the edge of it delaminated, and then this is your wood structure itself. And I don't know if you can watch, but that just moves way too much, and you can tell it goes down. I mean, so we're obviously going to have to do a little structure on that side of the door. So I'm going to take off this bottom piece, and then we'll be back with our next step. All right, real quick, we are back. I just took off that bottom threshold piece across there. That's fine. But here's what you see. And I was more careful with this one because I'm not sure if I can have my fabricator make this piece or not. He knows how, but it's a matter of time and when I'm getting this done. So this piece up here should be the same height as this floor. So we'll have to build this up. But part of the problem here is, besides this is all laminating or delaminating and falling apart, you know, these are just coming off. This piece that's in here, well, there's that piece. And then you have your trailer frame, which unfortunately I'm not going to be able to address this because it's not in our scope of work this time, but I will be talking to her about it. As you can kind of see down in here, you can see through there. So this wall, these pieces, you can see the nails. I will probably peel this up a little bit and get a new runner board across this bottom and get it attached, because there's bad in here. There's still some good parts we can still use. It's solid. I'll have to do some scabbing in here to get some solid wood back in there and rebuild this door area, but that's what we're looking at with her for possibly, you know, taking this. What I'll end up doing is I am not taking off the skins for this repair. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, you have to take off all the skins, but yes, it's easier. But in this case, I'm going to undo that bottom row of screws, and this is peeled back enough where I'll be able to hold this back and pull this piece, this jamb piece out here, and I will put in a new board. You can't really see back there, but once you get rid of this board, which is only, I can't tell, I think that's a 3/4 inch board by 2, maybe 1.5 inches. It's hard to tell. I'll just replace this exact same size and put a new piece inside that jamb. So that's just to show you again. And I'll do the same thing with this piece up here. Is I'll be able to take this piece out and make a new piece for that. And we'll make the door structure solid again, but it has bigger underlying issues with more rot. And, you know, to take a trailer apart and do a complete rot repair restoration, you know, I know a lot of people say they can do it cheap, but for me as my company, to do a full frame up restoration starts at about 25 grand by the time you take all this stuff off and rework it all. So that's not in her budget. What is in her budget is to make this secure and rebuild this door right now. So let me get my work surface here, which you can see is all full of crap. Let me get that cleaned up. So we'll take this door and we'll put it on the table and we'll take it apart and we'll do a restoration and rebuild that whole door for you. We'll be back. All right, just real quick, we're going to come back to this door. And so you can see this is good. It's solid all the way down to the bottom, and that's the metal trailer frame. But this whole threshold piece is pretty much not good. And you can see there's some issue here in the frame. We can find an attachment spot and we'll fix this. And because this here, where's my handy dandy brake tool? You can see that's all pretty solid. We'll get rid of this piece And this framing back here is solid to this board. So what we'll do is we will cut this frame off right here. We'll replace all of this piece over to this one and get it back to the frame on this side. And we'll rebuild this corner. And I wanted to just show you going up, you know, what we're gonna do. We're gonna replace that whole piece all the way up to the roof and the roof piece. So what I'm gonna do, before I actually make the door, is I'm gonna restructure this framing and get it rebuilt and measure it just to make sure. I mean, it should be the same size, but if things change a little bit, because when these trailers get kind of rotted and you do stuff, they shift, they move, they sink. There's all sorts of things that happen, which is why you really want to pay a professional if you can. So I have to just make sure things stay where they are. I don't want to build this door and find out that because we took things apart that something shifted, we didn't adjust or think about, and then the door doesn't fit. It should when we put it back together, but I'm gonna just do a little repair on this first. So I'm gonna have to run to the lumber yard, pick up some inventory. I don't carry much lumber on hand. It's too expensive, and if it sits too long, it likes to warp without an installation. So I'm gonna measure this up, get my parts, come back, and then I guess I can do a video. Since it's part of redoing this door, we will redo this door frame as well, which can only help everyone in viewing. So you won't know it, but I'll probably be back at this in about an hour. So luckily for me, I have two big box lumber yards within 5 miles of my shop, so it works good for me. So anyway, that's our mess. We're gonna take this apart. There's the door, the jambs, and I will get hold of my buddy who does this and just tell him I do need one. You know, you don't want to cheap out at some point, because the rest of this metal all around the edge is going to be new. The door edge is going to be new. The door is going to be new. She really likes her screen door. I'd like to fix that up, but she wants the original patina of it. And for what I do, I understand repairs and what people want. I just want to fix things better. But you know, this door is held together with, you know, brackets and miscellaneous screws, just keeping all the joints together at this point. But that's what she says she likes about it. You know, this side, you know, it has all of its mostly original stuff still on it. So I will respect what she wants. Plus, I don't want to send her a bill for something that she didn't want me to do. But the door does function, and she loves the way it looks, just how it's been kind of old, kind of tattered, kind of repaired. And unfortunately, this door trim has been beat up and drilled with too many holes and broken. And they've added this piece of metal to the bottom because the bottom of this door is probably so rotted that this is all they could do to secure it. So I can't use this metal, and she knows that it's going to be new shiny metal, but you know, she can find this house paint, which is what this is, paint over it and try to get the patina to match. So anyway, we'll be back. So what I'm going to do is I already cut this piece to replace from here to here. So I will use my multi-tool. We'll cut this, so it'll be loud for just a second. All right, and what was in here, if you saw them before, there were leg bolts in here and here. And what these did, when this was a solid piece of wood, these would secure the frame of the outside of the trailer to the frame on the bottom of the trailer. And I mean, they're rusty, they're not like super bad. Like I've seen way worse, but obviously the wood they go onto is bad. So when we replace this part, like I said, I'm going to replace some of this, then we'll replace this, and I will put new screws. I'm not going to use leg bolts. I'm not a fan of those, but I'll put enough screws in here to support this, and then we'll be back. So this, coming off, that's about it. This piece down here, someone added, I'm not touching that, that was there. And so my new piece will fit in here, and you can see I do pocket hole screws. So when I screw that into this frame and into this piece of wood, I will actually do it this way so they grab, and this will be the new bottom piece, and when this is in, then I can get a measurement for replacing this piece, and then I can measure the height I need to go from here to the top of this floor, so the threshold coming out is straight across. So this is gonna be in cut segments because it's too long for you to have to watch me walk back and forth and make all these cuts. So we'll be back. All right, so we're getting a little bit further figuring this out. So this was the original piece I was gonna put in, and I did peel the siding back, loosen up the bottoms, to move the J-rail a little bit. And this is now, I'm gonna replace it all the way to the front, to this support here. And again, I'll get to these, but next is gonna be to the point where I've determined that this isn't rotted or not bad. I mean, it's got a little bit of oldness and dust. That's fine. So what I'm doing is I'm just attaching my speed square for a straight edge. Nothing back there. Make sure you have no wires, no LP lines or anything. And I'm gonna use my tool and I'm gonna cut this section off and replace that. All right, you saw it move, so it's off. That was hanging on for everything. Just because there's a bolt which you can't see right here, which I'll cut off because the floor was bolted down into it, and we'll see what we can do with that because this floor here is bad. But this will be under the threshold, so I'll probably run new stuff underneath here. So now, let's see. Get my little drill here and loosen these up. Take those. I don't waste these screws. Nothing's cheap anymore, so there's no sense in wasting them. So you can see by the edge, that's a solid piece of board. Obviously you can see by this edge, that's not solid. So I'll measure this up, get its size, which is, doesn't look, it's not a 2x4, it's close, but yeah, see it's 3 inches by 1.5 inches, which is fine, but it's only 3 inches instead of 3.5, which would be a 2x4. So I'll rip that to size, put that back in, secure it, and you can see my line's pretty straight, good enough to put a new piece on there. And again, I will do the pocket holes, and I will attach them into this piece, and maybe at the end of this section of framing I'll take the camera off the stand there and I'll walk you over to what I use for a pocket hole driller. They have portable ones, clamp on, they have all sorts of them. I'll just show you the one I use. So let me get these measured up, and then when I get back I will show you what it takes to install those, and we'll keep moving on. All right, here's the next stage. I have 2 pocket hole screws sitting in there, and this is ready to go in. So let me just push this in and show you what is going on with this too. So this fits there. You can maybe see this, maybe not, but this piece is higher than this piece sits by 3/16 of an inch. So what I'm going to do before I attach these into it themselves is I'm going to use my jack, and I'm going to push this floor back up to where it needs to be, so these are flush, because these are the same height. That's just, there's, you know, it's old framing, it's an old trailer, we're not repairing all of it, so we're going to do our best. And then these are pocket hole screws. These blue ones are extra use, they're coated so they will last a little bit longer. I've not had to go back to any of my work because it always holds, but these I'm going to assume will not rust or corrode for longer than this trailer is going to hold out. So anyway, pocket hole screws, you have a long tip that comes with it. You need the long tip so you can get the correct angle, which now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't even think about it working that way. so actually I will have to try it with a 45-degree piece. I'll be right back. Let me go get that piece. All right, I have a setup here. So this is still all the same. I have a shorter tip, but with the drill and this tip on, I still can't get to quite, here's where the screw goes. I still can't quite get to the right angle by about 2 inches. So I don't have a 90-degree adapter. If you had one, this would be the time to use it. If not, I'm just gonna use this flexible end. I can hold this and drill this. So we're gonna just quick put these screws in. And these screws, kind of like all others, you have to be able to feel the tension. If you keep going power on, you will have that screw sit there and just keep spinning. So when you feel it snug up, like when I did this and you saw it kick up, it's tight enough. But for this one over here, because this particular 2x4 has, on this beam that's kind of out of sight, there's a runner running across for the framing. So I'm going to take one of the long ones and just drive that in to hold that in place. And of course, when this one just went in, this board's sitting like this, I just caught this edge. So I just have to move it over another 1/4 inch and then angle it towards that board. All right, that is what we want to see. So when I lower this, you can see this is now held as these screws in here are doing their job and the frame is staying level. I'm going to do the same thing when I install this piece. I'm going to put the jack in there and make sure this is held up. So when I attach this into here, everything's still at the right level and you put the screws in, then the pressure should mostly hold. You don't want it dropping or sagging at all, and that's going to keep this doorway pretty straight, which is what you want if you're doing a repair like this. I guess I didn't really need to stop it at that point because this piece does go in next. And so I'll just move my jack down. We're going to get this to fit back in there where it goes. Go this way. On there. So kind of harder with all the second hand, so it's getting jammed because right now, ouch. When I'm pushing up, I caught the siding, so it's not going up where it's supposed to, so I just lowered this. Make sure that this gets behind the siding there. All right, so you can see it's all good. Just check it out. And so I'm going to still use these screws to screw this into there. Let me see, do I have a clamp real quick? You know, you have your squeeze clamps. You can always use these. you know, just to make sure that everything's going to go where you want it when you're putting it together. Make sure that these actually come back together and combine. Yep, that works. So this one I need to make sure like that this board and this edge behind the siding are in line, which they are now. That's good. And since I have a joint right here, make sure you put one on each side of that joint to help hold that stable as well. And that sinks to pretty close to flush. My luck, this battery's probably gonna go dead before I can get the rest of the screws in. Okay. Actually, I'll just change this right now to my other drill. I like that green drill because it's more variable speed and slower than this one is. On slow, that's still pretty fast when you're wanting to feel the power of your screws going through to make sure they're not getting damaged. All right, that held. I'm just moving it out of the way so I can get some screws in there. That's right where I needed to be. And then, I don't know if you can see it in here, there's this original board and there's one down there. What I'll do is I'm going to go underneath and drive one screw up through there and pull this board out. So I don't think you need to really watch me pull this board out in the top one. It's just a matter of, here's my handy dandy brake tool or whatever you need. You're just basically going to keep pulling this off. And then you have to loosen the siding. It's got all these little nails, and then this board will come out. You know, there's part of it. It's rotted, so it's not going to be that big a deal. So let me get this off, and then we'll return. I guess you guys can fast forward through this, or maybe I'll speed it up taking this off so you can watch. But what you'll see when you're taking these pieces off is there's these big, probably like an 8-penny nail on there. That's how it was just nailed together to the frame. So you can use your clawed hammer. That's the nail that's on them. And I have again my brake tool. And I do like to use these little pry bars just to get this stuff off. These are the same kind of nails that if you were to take this off, when you take your roof skin off and it's folded over the edge, this siding is, it's got staples and these little nails. You always have to remove them all. I'm going to get some measurements and get all this wood prepared for installation, so we'll be right back. All right, so we should be, sorry, off camera, I forgot to grab this piece. So we cut off this call a stud, a jack, whatever you want, that holds up the top parts. What I did is, this is a new piece. I ripped it to the thickness it needed to be because it's not a full 1.5 inches between those two. And then where that old board was, I let this run over it. So when this board goes up, I'm pushing onto some new lumber and then we can drill that in. So let's hope this all works out. Make sure I'm clean at the bottom. Okay. So what I'll do is, it's kind of a piece together type of deal. There's a solid piece of header up here, which this will screw into once I'm ready. So this will sit in, kind of sit up there. This piece will wedge it up and hold it in place. And it's not that tight, but I'll just use my hammer anyway. And as I'm bringing this back, I'm making sure I'm out too far because I got to make sure that this old plywood gets between the board that's there and mine. That plywood has to get wedged, so. So what I'm going to do right now, before that falls on my head, because I know that's where I want it, I'm going to put this end on. And so this new board should be flush with the old board. Can't tell, but they're pretty dang close. So that's pretty close to flush right there. So before I make an adjustment to the width, I'm going to put that screw in so that one stays in place. I need that to stay there. Right. Now, because the camera's facing high, I'm going to just do the lower screw the same way. Just going to hold it in position and push it against the wall. So what I'll do is, to make sure that we put a door back in that square, I can look at my numbers and say that that's 21 3/4. Okay, so this wall has wiggle because it's floating, so as it sits, it's 21 1/2, but if I push it where it goes following this, then it's the 21 3/4. And the bottom. So I'll have to actually move that in because I think I'm going to be more like 21 1/2. So let me get here and hold that. So let me grab one of my clamps, which, you know, I do this a lot when I'm working. It'll be right in front of me and I don't know what I did with it. So hold on a second, let me grab another clamp. I always got plenty of them. Oh, now that I went to go get this one, I see it down there in the dirt pile. So what I want to do is push these together where it's supposed to be, because that is how the wall is supposed to be together. And we'll take this one anyway and just make sure that our wall is good. So this is done. I'll check it for square off. We have our pieces in. I'm going to have to figure out how to attach these two, because this is a 3/4 inch piece finished on the inside, and I don't know what they held that with honestly before. I think it was just that long 8-penny nail we were talking about, but I'm going to find a way to get a screw into there, because I can actually screw through these holes on the siding and push one through, as long as the screw doesn't stick out past this and ruin the new aluminum we're putting around it. That should be good. So I'm going to just look at some measurements, make sure everything's fine, squared off, all my screws are tight, and then we'll come back and we'll put the jambs on. So I'll be back in a minute. All right, so we got this all finished up. We are squared off. No matter what it looks like, it is square. You can see I didn't have to do much on this side. There's the top piece. Screws are countersunk. There's the side pieces, and I do have, see if I can get one down here. You can see back in here, I do have my screws in there holding this board to this board. And I did screw off the bottom of that trailer, the skin, so they're back on, put the J-rail back on. And then I had to make this threshold piece where we just had this before. I had to add this piece, and that's all screwed on. So this whole thing, not that you can tell, but she's pretty solid now. Now I think it's prepped, and I will do some aluminum. And let me just show you those over here real quick. So these are the new Jamb pieces. There's a left side, a right side, and then the roof, and I have to have Roger make me a new threshold for the bottom. But these, I'll take the short one since I don't have to cut it. I'm gonna get these cut and just put on. There's not much to watch here. It's one of those just move on people. So this is all on. This piece is gonna sit over it just like that. It's gonna cover the siding. And it's gonna cover all the wood that's underneath it. We're gonna do that to both sides. And of course, we're gonna do it to the top as well. So we're gonna get these all on, figure it out. And next time I return, we will have these trims on, and then we will start actually working on the door. That was just a quick update for you. All right, we're back. So I went to my fabricator, gave him the old threshold. He said she'll make that for me. Other than that, you can see the new side. You can tell the top is on, and this side is on. And then I put this piece here on, and again, I'm just using these screws because they'll paint over easier than my stainless steels that I would normally use, but all that's back on. And the threshold cap, when it comes across, will cover up this seam here. So it measures right, measures square. So now I can take these measurements and I can start to work on a door. And then probably when I'm done, I'll fix this drip cap. I'll take it off, see what's wrong with the holes, fix it. And then it'll take a little bit of time. I'll get set up to start taking this door apart because I'm gonna have to figure out how this door handle mechanism fits in the framing, because those are usually get a little bit tricky. So I'll set this up and we'll be back.